This is Lorelia coming to you tonight. Want to talk about becoming the bank and leveraging self directed IRAs. I had to think for a second. So, if you are on my email communication list, as well as I've talked about it in other videos, I discussed how for the rest of the month of April, I'm going to be talking about alternative funding strategies in regards to real estate, primarily focusing on raising capital and self-directed IRAs. In my last podcast episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast, I talked about finding self-directed IRA real estate investors. So without me going through a recap of the whole video, in that video I talked about how you as a real estate investor, if that is something that you desire, that you are looking for other alternatives in order to fund your real estate deals, self-directed IRAs is something that you should consider, as well as it being a form of funding for you to raise capital. And so tonight I'm going to dig a little deeper into that topic, but I want to start off with saying that tonight we're talking about becoming the bank and leveraging self-directed IRAs. Now, in the other video, well, should I say not the other video, the other podcast, I talked about you raising capital. But tonight, I'm going to talk about what you, as an investor, real estate investor, can do for yourself, and that is becoming the bank. Now, becoming the bank is not a new topic. I'm gonna be honest with you. I always say that information is plentiful. We live in a day and time. There's tons of videos, podcasts, books, courses, webinars, live broadcasts just like this, where information is abundant. But what is really limiting is the context of how that information is curated to the masses. And so as I do this video, I always like to say that there are 100 ways to skin a cat. My way is not the only way, but it is the way that I know based on my experience and how it's helped other my clients. I also want to note that as I go deeper into these conversations of raising capital and you becoming the bank, as well as in my last video, I literally showed you how you can go to the public record websites. Thank you so much for the hearts. How you can go to the public records in your state and county and get a laundry list of investors in order to reach out to them to invest in what it is that you have. But I want to put a disclaimer, and this is the Lorelia disclaimer. Self-directed IRAs, if you do not know this, is retirement funds that a person or entity has with a custodian. The reason why that I preference it and tell you that is because do not take this information as something that you can just do without the proper understanding as well as guidance, because we live in a time and place now where a lot of people want to run a play, want to run a game, especially the very sensitive information I shared in my last video, where I literally told you how you can find a list of IRA owners, self-directed IRA owners. I say that to say that in this country, there are two groups of people you do not mess with. You don't mess with children. You do not mess with those of a certain age. And so why I say that is because understand, as you navigate through this realm of the self-directed IRA space, as well as what I'm going to talk about tonight, it is a heavy regulated industry. Be very cautious of gurus who want to just give you information but don't give you any context. And that is why I said information is plentiful. There's plenty of information. But if there's no context of why you should do the things that you can do, what you could do for your business, for your real estate investments, you can get yourself in a jam. The SEC just last year in 2023 put out an article on self-directed IRA fraud. So understand there are fraudsters in every industry. So this is not the industry where you can decide you want to run a play or take a shortcut, because anything that I do it with very high intentions. If you know, a lot of times clients who work with me, I always suggest that they get an attorney to look at paperwork, because the fact that I work with people all over the country, laws that pertain to New Jersey are different than the laws in Georgia, then is different than the laws in Illinois, and the list goes on. California, Texas, doesn't matter. The laws are different. Unless you have a multi-state attorney who knows the laws in all those states, by all means, that's something different. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. But now I want to go into tonight's topic, and that is becoming a bank. It's $12 trillion that is under management with custodians. So I say that to say that there's no shortage of money that's available for you to be able to leverage from a entity like a self-directed IRA owner. But tonight I want to talk about you becoming the bank, why you can do the same thing. Now, the reason why tonight I want to talk about you stepping into the shoes of being a self-directed IRA owner yourself, because one thing I know about humans usually, now of course we have the outliers, but things that you create, you are more responsible with it. Let me repeat. Things that you create, you're more responsible with it. And the reason why I say that is because some people will approach this getting access to funding from self-directed IRA owners or raising capital or what have you as a free-for-all. Like, oh, they're just going to give me some money. And a lot of times individuals want to know, well, what have you did? And so that is why you yourself should consider going through the process of setting up your own self-directed IRA and for you to become the bank. Now, of course, what are the benefits? I'll touch on some of those tonight, but of course, we will be talking for hours and hours and hours of the benefits. But one of the benefits is you having control. In my podcast episode that I did when I talked about finding self-directed IRA owners, I talked about most individuals who are familiar with the conversation of IRAs. They think of the financial institutions out there who manage some type of investment portfolio that they have no control of. Yes, they can, pick what fund that they want to be invested in, but they have no control of the investments within that fund, because usually the funding company, the financial funding company, is the one who picks those investments. Well, with a self-directed IRA, you have control. So if that's something, if you desire, if you have these two things, you invest in real estate and you like having control of the investments that you want to be able to have in your investment portfolio, self-directed IRAs would be something that you should consider. Now, let me tell you a short story before, I go into really going deep on the topic. The reason why, I, discovered that the self-directed space was something that I really wanted to hunker in on is because, I'm going to be honest with you, it's because of my age. Now, I'm 50 years old, and I say that to say, as you get closer to retirement, you start to really assess where you're at. Now, when I was in my 30s, I should say, and I started my real estate journey, the conversation of self-directed IRAs did come up. Prior to that, I worked as an accountant, and I was very familiar with the IRAs and investing in IRAs, and I have invested in IRAs in the past, but of course, once I decided to invest and hold my investments in self-directed IRAs, I liquidated those. But I say all that to say was that, was I fully invested in it? Yes. But I really didn't grasp the opportunities that could really be there for me, as well as for my family, as well as for my business, until I really dug deep into the self directed IRA space. And if you do not know, I talk a lot about business funding and things that you can do, how you can literally um, I want to say expand the opportunities within your business with leveraging funding. Well, self-directed IRAs is that opportunity for you as well, because any funding using, let's use, business funding or business credit, for example, you leverage that, you put it into your business, real estate, your business makes money. Now you have more income. But what do most people do with that income? They usually just keep it in a business bank account. Imagine doing that same thing. You leverage a financial vehicle like a self-directed IRA, and then of course any income that comes from that will go back into the IRA. And as it accumulates and accumulates and accumulates, it now is becoming to be your nest egg. As opposed to with the business credit and the business funding, does it have its place? Yes. But of course, most people aren't really using their business income or any cash flow that they get from their business to save for retirement. And so that is why self-directed IRAs is something to consider. Now, of course, the tax benefits and all that, and we'll talk about that in other videos. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about this topic for the whole month of April, so I don't want to throw up everything tonight. But of course, the tax benefits and what have you. But going into tonight's topic, I want to share something with you as a resource. Because remember I said information is plentiful. I'm not going to sit here and say, you got to get the information from me. I want to assure you that the information is out there. And you yourself go ahead and be a seeker and dig deeper within the information for it to work with for you. So the book I'm going to be referencing tonight is the Self-Directed IRA Handbook. And the author is Matt Sorensen. Now, if you're not familiar with the self-directed IRA space, Matt Sorensen is an attorney, and he is the specialist when it comes to self-directed IRAs. And he wrote a book. And so this book is pretty much the Bible when it comes to self-directed IRAs, because self-directed IRAs, once again, is a highly what's the word? It's a highly taxed entity when it comes to how it can be used. So there's a lot of tax code that is encumbered in the self-directed IRA space. He pretty much did a summation of some of the topics within self-directed IRAs. Now, of course, if you the IRS code is there for your picking. You go on the IRS website or you go to a library and you can get all the tax code that has to do with self-directed IRAs. But within this book, I should say, the reason why, if you want to know why I'm a big advocate of, and I talked about this in my podcast episode about cold outreach when it comes to self-directed IRAs, is because of the tax code. Once again, self-directed IRAs is highly documented in the top tax code and within SEC, and so you have to be very careful in the transactions that you do. Now, of course, you do have a custodian when it comes to IRA assets as well as the management of it. And a lot of times they will give you guidance because, of course, they're going to ask you what you're doing. But it's always good to know yourself because you can know what's prohibited, what's not prohibited, what you can do or what have you. That's why I put the disclaimer out there, is that this ain't the space to want to run no plays, because And I say that with caution because a lot of times on the internet, we hear a sound bite and we feel like, oh, we're going to run and we're going to run that play. You will get yourself in a jam. So just so you know. But within this book, there was a chapter on promissory notes and loan investments within a self-directed IRA. So I'm going to read a piece to you because remember I said we're going deep on this. A self-directed IRA may lend to another as an investment in a loan investment. The IRA is the lender and the party receiving the loan funds is the borrower. The borrower cannot be a disqualified person. Example, the IRA owner or certain family. As a loan to a disqualified person will result in a prohibited transaction. IRC, which is Internal Revenue Code, a loan from a self-directed IRA must be evidenced by written loan documents such as a promissory note and may be secured by real estate or other assets may be unsecured. One may say, Maria, why are you reading that boring information? It sounds like you're speaking Japanese. Well, the reason why I read that code to you is because in my last video, I talked about why self-directed IRA owners, why reach out to individuals you do not know, cold people. You know, why can't I just go to my granny? Why can't I just go to my husband? Why can't I just go to my aunt? Maybe I can go to my kids. Because if things are not structured correctly, you can put yourself in a jam. Proper terms, it could possibly be a prohibited transaction according to IRC code. So that is why I'm a big advocate of 80% of the people. Now, of course, you have those who may have put money in a self-directed IRA and have not did them. But if you look on those, you know, if you did your search, like I told you in the last podcast episode, a lot of those documents, as you go through them, because I know I have, are documents where you are literally seeing these IRA owners lending money. They're lending money. So you can see the documents on how they word them. Of course, word of caution, retain an attorney to go over your paperwork. I wouldn't be pulling anything off of a public website and want to use it. But you will literally see how these things are written up in terms of as the text says, with the documents and the structuring or what have you. So that is why I'm a big advocate of self-directed IRA owners that you don't know. It's because one, you're not going to trigger a prohibited transaction because those individuals don't know you and you don't know them. So clearly we know, okay, I'm not a disqualified person. I'm not, I'm not a family member. And so we're okay with that. So you did that check. But also, when you decide to become the bank yourself, these are the checks and balances that you're going to do within your own self-directed IRA. Because once again, humans usually take care of what they create. So the same way an investor is out there soliciting or trying to, look for ways to fund their deals, you should also put yourself in that same seat. You should literally be going through the same process in terms of setting up your own self-directed IRAs, looking for ways to fund them. Because remember, a lot of this information I share is for investors who are currently doing deals. That's why I said, I know for me, information is plentiful. I mean, could a person who has never did real estate leverage this information and it helps? Yes. But a lot of times you do want to be in the seat of a person who is an investor yourself and has did deals, because you can see the full picture. Goes back to the last podcast episode I did where I talked about knowing your numbers. Last night, someone that I know from Facebook, know this person, I know them personally. They're in a whole nother state. And they're in a whole nother state, and they were at a real estate meetup, I guess, in, the state and city that they're at. And they had a private lender who was talking to them, to the group, because it was a whole big old group. Seems like it was a restaurant or something. And the investor, the private lender, said that we don't lend, or he, I think he said we, or either him, will not lend to an investor where the investment is not going to make money. Now, of course, I'm, saying it in my own words, but I pretty much get what he means. Because he was saying, we're not going to lend to you if what you're looking to invest in, meaning want to leverage his money, there's no way to make money. And I think for many investors, that's why the conversation of becoming a bank is so big for them, is because a lot of investors don't really have any skin in the game. You know, Clearly, $12 trillion and assets under management literally means sky's the limit. Just take 1% of 12 trillion. You're literally, I believe, you're still in the billions. Most people who are in the real estate space and are looking to raise capital or leverage funding, they think it's a shortage. They really do believe it is a shortage. And it's not that it's a shortage. There's an abundance of capital that awaits for you. But the singular thing that holds many real estate investors back is that their knowledge and understanding of how much money an investor would even earn. So that is why I'm a big advocate of you be your own, become your own bank. Now you may be saying, well, Lorelia, how would one do that? Well, let's just take wholesaling. I'm gonna take the bare bones level of real estate, whereas it has been commonly known that wholesaling is a no money down play when it comes to real estate. And I hate to use the term play, but that's the vernacular that a lot of people are familiar with. I have been very transparent with telling people that is how I got my start. Early 2000 is with wholesaling. Use none of my own money. I literally found a real estate owned contract. This was before Dodd-Frank had changed all the rules, but I literally used to invest in wholesale properties. And I would work with an agent, get access to the bank owned properties that were on the MLS. I would submit a lot of offers because I knew every offer is not going to get accepted. And the offers that did get accepted, which was my first one, I showed it to my investor that I was looking to wholesale it from. And I literally used the earnest deposit money that he gave me. I used it to be able to give to the agent that gave to the bank, and did a double close and got a check. How does that relate to self-directed IRAs with you becoming a bank? Well, if you're familiar with wholesaling, I don't know how they're teaching y'all now, but when I used to do a lot of wholesaling, you literally put yourself on the contract. When I say self, business name, if you knew like me, I was so new, I didn't even know I could have used the LLC. I literally used my own name. But if you're a little seasoned, I think now most people know they use their business name. Well, instead of you using your own name, you would use the self-directed custodian account of yourself. So you write up your assignment contract with the investor that's selling you the property, and instead of having your LLC name, whatever type of entity you have, you would be using your self-directed custodian account, your self-directed IRA account. Then you go through your transaction, however you're doing it, an investor who, I mean, the investor who's buying it from on the end buyer, whether you're doing a double close or they're paying you an assignment fee, that fee that you get at closing, that amount of money you would put in your self-directed IRA account. Voila, you have did your first become your own bank transaction with a self-directed IRA account. And now this is a self-directed entity that you've created that you are now going to sanction and use as your own bank that you can now lend out. Because remember, as you continue to build and build and build this self-directed IRA account, you can put yourself in position to be able to lend. And you're going to go through all the necessary things that need to be done within a self-directed IRA account, whatever the custodian tells you to do. And as long as you stay within the realms of the IRS code, not triggering any prohibited transactions, that's really what these $12 trillion self-directed IRA owners are doing. This is how it was done. Now, whether they use wholesaling or they transferred money from their traditional IRA stock account or mutual fund account, but that is how it began. Or either they just took their business to write a big check to be able to fund their self-directed IRA account. This is the way it's done. Now, let me just caution you by saying what I just shared with you is it's in simplistic terms. Now, of course, the actual transaction I just talked about, yes, there could be other layers to it. Remember, I said you need to have the context with the content. So I did try to provide you with some type of context, but the point of what I'm making is to give you a full picture. Because like I said, a lot of times we're unable to even see the big picture of becoming the bank because we're thinking that it's such a big mammoth. And a lot of times it's not. Many people don't even, especially an investor, you don't even realize that the real estate investment moves that you're currently doing, whether you're wholesaling, maybe you have a rental, and now any of the income that comes from that real estate that you own can be funded and put into a real estate, a self-directed IRA. The list goes on. And that is what I'm trying to really get at people, is that one, yes, access of funds are still available because no one wants to liquidate and use their own money because you're capped. I've talked about this in other videos. There's so much, there's but so far you can go always using your own money. And that I'm going to leave for another video where I'm going to talk about lender, meaning bank lending versus self-directed IRAs. But I don't want to, like I said, I want to spit out everything tonight, but the list goes on and on. You never want to be in a position where you are constantly using your own money. But you do want to start there because it gives you an idea of how the whole process works. See, most people that get stuck when it comes to raising capital or even leveraging self-directed IRAs, it's because they've never really went through the ropes themselves. Most people are really trying to build wealth with no hits. Like they don't want no mistakes. They don't want no setbacks. They want everything to run smooth, and it doesn't happen like that. I don't care what guru you're listening to, what expert. Yes, can you avoid some of the hits? With reading books, hiring um, experts, hiring coaches, hiring consultants. Yes, you can, guard yourself, but nothing, all investments have a risk. And, you will maybe hit some bumps in the road. But the point of this whole series of why I'm doing it is to really, give you, like I said, a full picture of what is possible. Sky's the limit on what can be done when you really understand this whole space of understanding funding. That is why this series is literally called Going Beyond Business Credit. Because right now, at least online, people think business credit, business funding is the be all to end all. It have its place? Yes. But for me, part of my framework, what I teach my clients, as you move up that funding paradigm, one of the highest levels is your ability to leverage self-directed IRA investors because they want to lend. They understand the conversation of lending. They know they can make more money on their money by being the lender, being the bank. If you've ever played the game of Monopoly, the bank never goes broke. And many people do not understand they don't understand the power of being the bank and know how you can make it work in your favor. And I don't say this in a salacious way. Like, I don't say this in a way of doing things that are not in integrity, but doing things that are in integrity and knowing how you can leverage strategies that have been around longer than most of us have been alive, but many of us have never even, we didn't even know these conversations even existed. And so that's my whole goal, is to be able to share this knowledge and information. So I'm already past the 30-minute mark. Like I said, if you want to know how often we'll be doing these lives, I mean, I got Monday, I have the podcast. I go a little deeper on this topic with these, with these live sessions. Right now, my goal is to do one on Wednesday. Maybe possibly I'll do one on Thursday. And so don't want to run myself too thin, but may have another conversation about this on Thursday. So once again, this is Lorelia. Let's do a recap of what I talked about. I talked about $12 million in 12 trillion. Let me make that clear, not million. It's $12 trillion in assets that are held by custodians within the US when it comes to self-directed IRAs. Along with that, we talked about how you can leverage those funds in order to invest in real estate. And third, we talked about how you can put yourself in the driver's seat and become the bank yourself. And I gave you an example of how that works, because nothing is stopping you from doing a Google search to find a self-directed IRA custodian and get started. But then the next thing is, people want to know, what does that look like? How can I do it for myself? And I've shared that with you. Now, what I also want to know, if you find this conversation interesting, I do want to share with you, as I look at the calendar, I'm looking at my calendar. April 27th, in 2 weeks, I will be hosting a live Saturday workshop online. It'll go for 2 to 3 hours. We'll be talking about topics that I just talked about today, as well as, during this month, is alternative funding strategies, focusing on self-directed IRAs and raising capital, and going deeper and giving you context of how that would work for you. Along with that, I'll give you a picture. I give you a peek behind what I'm currently doing and how I got things positioned for myself, ways that I reach out to private investors, in order for me to get access to capital so I can even invest in real estate myself and do other things that I can be able to be able to expand and not to use all of my own money. Because like I said, you're literally going to possibly cap out if your only strategy is how much money you're going to use. And so nothing is not going to be nothing razzle dazzle. I'm not creating a big old website. If this is something that is interested, if you're interested in what I have to talk about, as well as be interested in that master class, you can tune in here on my YouTube channel. This content right now is exclusively on YouTube. I don't have it streamed nowhere else. It's not on Facebook, it's not on TikTok, not on LinkedIn. Exclusively here on YouTube. These particular live streams, like I said, you can tap in here to get more content about this particular topic. But if you do want to join that masterclass, like I said, we'll go about 2.5 to 3 hours on a Saturday, going much deeper into with what I share with you. Like I said about alternative um, financing, going beyond the business cards, focusing solely on raising capital, self-directed IRAs to be able to expand your portfolio and get investors who are looking to invest in what it is that you have. So once again, this is Lorelia. All the links will be below this. If you're on my email communication list, there you will find the information as well. So this is Lorelia. I'm signing off, and I will see you in the next video.